The news is live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144, on your digital TV because we are free to air and around the world at myjoyonline.com. The details now. Ghana will begin its COVID-19 vaccination program on the 2nd of March after taking delivery of 600,000 doses of the Indian-made AstraZeneca vaccine. The jabs, which arrived in the country earlier today, make up the first batch of free vaccines being provided for 20% of Ghana's population under the COVAX facility. The Health Ministry says vaccination will be conducted in a staggered approach, starting from frontline health workers, 60-year-olds, people with underlying conditions, and other at-risk segments of the population. Here's Health Minister Designate Kwekwajaman Menu, who says the arrival of the vaccines in the country is an indication of government's commitment to combat the virus.
Let us not leave anyone behind, and that has always been Gavi's spirit, and I think that has become a reality. We thank partners who joined and have contributed massively to enable Gavi do what they are doing for us around the globe. We now have 92 countries that Gavi is supporting through the COVAX window by giving 20% of our populations free vaccines. And I'm glad that Ghana has come to take delivery first in the world from the COVAX facility. Partly depends more on our president's initiative, his networking, and his hard work. But I must say that Ghana is opportuned. The health minister in Ghana sits on the Gavi board, and so inside we know what is happening, and our hard work has yielded results. Gavi continues to raise funds across the globe to support the initiative, and I believe no one on earth will be left behind in this vaccination effort. Ghana, we are not lucky to have received the first 600,000 doses with syringes and safety boxes. We're going to apply them the way our plan is. We had to submit and meet requirements even for COVAX. Our vaccine development plan, we have done our deployment plan. All these have been approved by our president to go. And the next few days, we'll begin rolling out our vaccination program. These vaccines are safe, and you will see soon how many big people in our country will begin to take them, including our diplomats.
Now, a lot of questions about the safety of vaccines still linger on the minds of many Ghanaians, from efficiency to the scope of vaccination and side effects. Here's a wrap of some of the major concerns raised so far and answers provided by health authorities.
What is a vaccine?
It's a simple and a safe and an effective tool to protect people against harmful diseases before they come into contact with them. So it is not a treatment. A vaccine does not treat you after you get the disease. A vaccine is a preventative tool that has to be administered before you get into contact.
Which vaccines is Ghana getting?
The AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine manufactured by Serum Institute of India, and what you call the Sputnik V, which is manufactured by a company in Russia.
How safe are these vaccines?
So a vaccine is simple. It is not a very complicated mixture. It is very, very safe, and the single most effective immune booster you can take is a vaccine. All these drinks you take, whether it's orange juice or Percocet or whatever it might be, a vaccine historically and today is the best immune booster. So if you want an immune booster, when the COVID-19 vaccine arrives in Ghana and you are one of the people who is able to get it, please go and get it. That is the ultimate immune.
Are the vaccines able to deal with the new strain we have in Ghana?
Our dominant strain in Ghana is the UK strain, for which the AstraZeneca works well. Even for where in countries, in places where the South African one, the issue is that it still prevents severe disease. And so it's not that it's not useful at all. The WHO has come out that it's still good enough even for that strain. But luckily for us, our dominant strain is the UK strain, for which the AstraZeneca and the other vaccines, we believe, will be working. And as we say, we will continue doing surveillance as we go on. When we find anything, we'll change course.
Does this mean? At what cost and what is the population target?
Initial target based on the safety profile of the vaccines, we are targeting approximately 20 million persons. And these persons are health workers, as based on, this is based on the segmentation, persons with underlying health conditions, security personnel, other essential service providers, persons above 60 years, students of second and tertiary institutions, teachers at all levels, specialized groups, of course, the executive, legislature, judiciary, the MDAs, the media, and of course, the rest of the population will receive the COVID-19 vaccines.
Why is it important for me to be vaccinated?
Vaccination is safe, effective, and to prevent a lot. Currently, vaccination protects us from about 20 diseases, and WHO records show that it saves 3 million lives every year. We need a vaccine because it's effective, and it has been used in various cases in the country. Now that our borders are closed, etc., this gives us the best opportunity to vaccinate the people of Ghana. We have also, there's less and optimal use of the protocols. People are not using the protocols, so it cannot be the panacea. It's a good panacea, but it also goes to add that because of the low face mask use, vaccination coming at this time will be very, very helpful. We have continual community transmissions, and so we cannot take those things for granted. And
which categories of individuals do not qualify?
And of course, we use a combination of these depending on the situation. So the vaccines or vaccination will be expanded to include children and pregnant women as time goes on and as more safety data become available.
What are the possible effects I may get from the vaccines?
And we've been monitoring the international scene. So for anybody who's used Sputnik, any country that has used it, we know the adverse events that have currently been experienced. And so far, it is the normal slight temperature, chills, some injection site reactions. We have not got any adverse events of special interest that causes us concern. If anything like that comes up, because we are also working with all the other countries within the WHO drug safety monitoring system, we will hear about it. And
what are the common myths about vaccines?
The data would bear me out to say that it has been extensively studied, and there is no support for the fact that vaccination in any way can lead to autism.
How much must I pay to be vaccinated?
Vaccines in Ghana are wholly free, whether it's COVID, whether it's measles, they are not paid for. They are paid for by the government, so the average Ghanaian does not pay for it. It's free.
Great.
Thank you so much for staying here on JoyNews today. Now, lawyers for 2020 NDC presidential candidate John Dramani Mahama say they've successfully proven that no candidate obtained more than 50% of the votes cast in the 2020 presidential elections. They are therefore urging the Supreme Court to direct the Electoral Commission to organize a runoff between President Akufo-Addo and Mr. Mahama when it delivers judgment on March 4. This is contained in the written closing address filed by Mr. Mahama's lawyers. Court correspondent Joseph Akable has the rest of the story.
3 witnesses testified in support of Mr. Mahama's petition. Johnson Asiedu Nketia.
Nobody knows the results of the presidential elections in 2020.
Dr. Michael Pesa White.
As at the time we were instructed to go and have deliberations with the petitioner in that room, we had come nowhere close to knowing who had won and who had lost.
And Rojo Metunu
has more to do with a trend of anomalies, several anomalies.
Mr. Mahama's lawyers filed a document asking that the EC chairperson admits to certain facts. This includes the claim that the EC announced President Akufo-Addo as obtaining 6.7 million votes out of a total valid votes of 13.4 million. They say failure of the EC to admit to this and lead evidence to show contrary figures means Nana Akufo-Addo did not obtain more than 50% of the valid votes cast. This, they insist, created a situation where the petitioner did not have to bring figures to prove what is obvious. They further contend that the EC has not lawfully corrected the results as declared, hence the court should direct a runoff takes place since the lawful declaration of December 9 means no one won the election. President Akufo-Addo's lawyers disagree. They say the petition actually proves that Nana Akufo-Addo met the constitutional requirement of obtaining more than 50% of the valid votes cast. Reference is made to the cross-examination of NDC General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia by lead counsel for the president, Mr. Akoto Ampao.
I'm putting it to you that whether it is the EC's calculation or your calculation, definitely second respondent crossed the threshold.
If we are going by the data supplied by EC.
Yes.
They say this admission shows that the petitioner has made much ado about nothing of the fact that in announcing the total valid votes cast, the chairperson of the EC stated a wrong figure of 13.4 million. They conclude this petition is an industry in futility. It has been designed, built and furnished with a lazy labor of facts and evidence that seek to attack the electoral choices of the people of Ghana. End quote.
Court correspondent Joseph Akable with that report. Let's go back to some health-related stories. A video showing mothers sleeping on the bare floor at one of Kumasi's major health centers has caused a public uproar. The Menchia Government Hospital currently has a number of fresh beds and mattresses stored outside the maternity ward, but there's no space to place them. Management says the facility urgently needs an amount of 820,000 cedis to expand the ward to meet the huge maternal needs of over 20 communities in the Ashanti region and beyond. Lava FM's Erastus Asari-Donko reports.
This is damn serious. Patients lying on the bare floor.
This video, shot in late 2019, documents the huge congestion at the maternity ward of the Menchia Hospital. Its contents showing a ward full with mothers on admission sleeping on the bare floor have generated huge public outcry and discussion.
The situation we check on the ground indicates that the congestion and the issue of space is still a reality here on the ground.
These maternity wards, the largest the size of an office canteen, hold a maximum of 9 beds each. They are all full most of the time, with mothers either expecting or delivered of their babies. The Menchia Hospital supervised 3,876 deliveries in 2020 with an antenatal attendance of 43,444. The maternity ward receives an average of 15 deliveries a day, with lie-ins of about 30 a day in a ward that has a bed capacity of 28. Some mothers who have just delivered have to share this small space with pregnant women who are in labor due to lack of space.
Mawo nankesi yimi ko baby fufuro na ase bed na ye manintina ye de mabaha no keniko ase kamisa baha bi kameko room fufuro.
We found this mother in labor who refuses to be referred to another facility and has opted to sleep on a mattress on the floor.
Nanga yatika dana so akaiki konfanochi di kina so nkite COVAX so nkite
senai tambaya son
ato wasiti so ubisa that means on person obekono.
Nurse manager Rosemary Sapon, public health nurse Martha Danso, head of the maternity ward Hawa Isifu, shared their frustration on the ward.
On a normal day, the place is so congested with patients coming for admission, sitting outside waiting for them to be admitted, whilst we are in with so many of them.
An emergency unit started some years back is still at the foundation stage. But the immediate solution to the congestion is a proposed 2-story expansion of the maternity ward, as indicated by the Health Service Administrator, Rosemond Oforiamanfon.
It's not an issue of beds and mattresses. We have mattresses packed there, and beds too. We have beds. The issue has to do with expansion. We need infrastructure. If not the huge type, at least that small drawing that we've done, we can demolish this wooden structure for that building expansion to take this space as early as possible because the congestion is taking a toll on the facility.
After our tour of the Menchia Government Hospital, it has become clear that they have an issue of congestion which is urgent and need immediate fix. Now, the hospital itself has allocated land for expansion temporarily to solve the problem. It will take 820,000 Ghana cedis to take the hospital out of the doldrums for now. Reporting for JoyNews, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
Still in Kumasi, a clinic suspected to be performing illegal abortions has been shut down by the Health Regulatory Facility Agency. The Lake Road Clinic is among 9 facilities locked up in a 2-day exercise aimed at sanitizing the health service delivery sector. All 9 were found to be unlicensed, with some recruiting persons with no training in the health profession. Love FM's Nanaya Ojima has more in the following report.
HEFRA, through its intelligence, picked information that the Lake Road Clinic conducted illegal abortions and other gynecologic procedures without the requisite licensing.
Okay. They're doing medical procedures, so these are all here.
At the time of the visit, the inspection team picked unhygienic and unregistered medical equipment used in surgical procedures. Personnel performing medical services were also unlicensed. Registrar for HEFRA, Dr. Philip Bano, led the operation.
And when we went there, we saw several equipment that have been used. It seems they have been used, but it doesn't seem that they've been washed at all or clean. Some are quite dirty. We saw the operating room table. We saw the shape that was in. We saw some of the utensils or some of the bowls that, these are quite good, something you may even find in your kitchen or worse. So those were the things, the reports we were getting. That is why we were drawn there. So we didn't meet allegedly the doctor that works there. So we don't know his standing, whether he's really a doctor or not. But the people that were picked, they did not have any license to say whether they are nurses or otherwise.
It could be that at the Mediscience Laboratory at Bantama, the owner of the facility claimed to have the necessary qualification to man the facility, but failed to provide documents. Mediscience Laboratory, and he actually has 2 different shops here at Bantama. So we went to the first one, asked for his certification. He assured that he has them here. So the team followed him to this place for the certification, including his license that allows him to operate as a professional in such a facility. Unfortunately, he couldn't provide such certification. So the place is being locked up and he will be picked up for further questioning and investigations.
I have everything.
So where is it?
It's not here. I said I traveled to Accra and what's in my bag? Okay, I was to go to the office and I couldn't meet them. So I came back and this is my bag. So do I bring the bag here?
Initially down there you told us that it's here.
But it's not found here.
Osborne Diagnostics, Sonoscan Diagnostics Center and Focus Medical Diagnostics are among facilities shut down on the second day of the exercise. Others include Crispat Hearing Center, De Castro Home Care and EchoScan Diagnostic Center. Dr. Bano explains the exercise has the goal of sanitizing the system and ensuring safety of the public.
We have some interest in closing some people's businesses down. That is not our interest at all. In fact, we want to see more people attracted or engaged in the healthcare sector. We want more private competition or more private participation. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we adhere to quality standards. We want to promote quality. That's all it's about. You don't want to go and have a scan in a place where the place is unlicensed. You don't know what kind of equipment they are using. You don't even know the quality of the imaging they are giving to you and who is even doing the interpretation of the images that they capture.
HEFRA was established in 2011 by the Health Institution and Facilities Act, Act 829, to license health facilities for the provision of public and private healthcare services. It is also mandated to register and monitor operations of all health facilities to set standards for quality healthcare delivery in all facilities across the country. For Joy News, Nana Ojima reporting.
And let's go back to our earlier story. Arguably, the biggest health story in the country at the moment is that Ghana has taken delivery of some 600,000 doses of COVID vaccines. My colleague who was at that ceremony, I know there's been a lot of reaction on social media about whether that was necessary. We're not going into the details of that. So what next, Manuel? You just came back from the airport. Once we took delivery of the doses, what happened next?
Well, so at the airport, we saw the vaccines being wheeled into temporary cold storage facilities, which are now transporting and should have been transported already into some cold storage facilities across the country. In fact, we are told that they are being activated in all 260 MMDAs across the country. But with the 600,000, the first batch, 600,000 doses of the vaccines that have come being held here for onward deployment to health facilities on March 2.
So after they've arrived at these MMDs you mentioned, and obviously the health facilities that will be conducting or administering the vaccines, how do people access it? One, we know it's for free, we've been told that, but what are the processes involved?
So the head of the enhanced immunization program at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Kwame Mposachiano, mentioned that what we're doing in Ghana is a campaign vaccination rollout, not, for instance, what you have in the US and other areas where people are actually going to vaccination points to take their jabs in their vehicles, drive through, vaccinations and so on and so forth. In Ghana, there are about some 12,500 vaccinators who are being engaged to go around, and so they'll be going into the population to vaccinate the target groups that have been, as it were, isolated for the very first phase of the vaccination rollout.
Okay, so you've mentioned that definitely won't be like what we see in the US. And so have we been told how someone will identify themselves? We've been told 60 years and above. We've been told persons in frontline health workers. So how do you identify yourself? I'm asking this question because there was an interesting incident in the US where some ladies actually dressed as old women and went through the drive-through. It was when they were going for the second shot that they were actually caught red-handed. So how do people identify themselves?
And so these are the fine details that we are waiting for from the Ministry of Health and also from the Ministry of Information, because it's been running point on the risk communication of the coronavirus in the country. What we know is that, just like you're mentioning, the frontline health workers, frontline security personnel, we also know some frontline government officials, i.e. those in executive, those in the legislature and then in the judiciary also are being targeted for the rollout. And so we're waiting for the very specifics on how a person, for instance, a potential vaccinee will identify him or herself as being a frontline health worker or a frontline security personnel or a media practitioner and so on and so forth. These are fine details that we believe that the Ghana Health Service will be releasing in no time at all.
Manuel Kranting is my colleague, and he was at that event to receive the first batch of COVID vaccines that arrived a while ago in Ghana. And we've seen a lot of tweets, a lot of reactions to this on social media. And we've also tried to help with some education, especially on the myths and the concerns about safety of the virus. And that's just one last thing you'd like to share?
It's good I think that is quite important to mention that the rollout will be staggered and starting from the Greater Accra Metro, with some parts in Kaswa, were told by the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Sedu Bequin, some part of the Wutu-Senya East areas in the central region. We also know that in the Greater Kumasi Metro and Obuasi municipality, these are the sort of focal points for the first phase of the rollout. So from 2nd of March 2021, these areas should be expecting to receive the vaccines.
It must be an exciting moment for a lot of Ghanaians, as it was for many other people in different parts of the the world. Thank you so much, Manuel Cranting. Away from health-related issues, heavily armed policemen a short while ago raided a house believed to be the office of the LGBT plus rights group in Ghana. JoyNews editor Fred Smith joins us with more. Hello, Fred. What more can you tell us about this?
I wanted to show you how the rules look like, but we are...
Hello, Fred.
With the representative of the landlord, Dr. Jambibi, and they got here about 10 minutes before I did, and my information is that the moment they got here, there were some 2 men in the facility. They took to their heels and scaled the wall at the moment they set eyes on the police and the landlord entering the facility, and so the police decided to go into the building itself. The building, as you can see behind me, it's a 5-bedroom facility built in bricks, and inside this facility there's a large hall, and there's also a guest bedroom just close to it. There's the master bedroom, also not too far from it, and 3 other bedrooms in this facility. We're told that this is supposed to be the office for the LGBT campaigners in Ghana, and we did not particularly see office furnishings or office things. We only saw sofa and beds in these buildings, and in one of the bedrooms, which is just here, I managed to enter that bedroom. There were mattresses put in that bedroom, and you get the impression that people just woke up from this mattress Venice.
Fred, but what is the police saying is the illegality? Or let me just put it this way: what charge, on what basis are they raiding this facility?
Well, they've not prepared any charges as yet. The investigation has just started, and they have not seen anyone and have not questioned anyone as we speak. The only thing that has happened is the landlord who approached the police and informed them of what was happening in his building. The building was rented to one person about 2 months ago at the rate of 1,500 cedis per month. They paid for a year's rent, and on hearing that this facility is what is being used for LGBT campaigns, he decided to call his tenant to find out exactly whether this was true, and it was confirmed that this is indeed what was happening here.
All right, so Fred, and quickly and briefly, if I get you right, the police acted after a report by the landlord.
Indeed.
Okay.
The landlord approached the police that he was coming here, and that because he had expressed disquiet about how his building was being used, he requested for police assistance in getting to the facility, and that's how come he came with the police. And when they came, they discovered that the building was being used for purposes other than what was agreed in that tenancy agreement he signed with the tenant. The hall had been modified, they had repainted. The landlord said in that agreement they agreed that the hall was not, that the building was not going to be modified in any way. Some of the buildings had the LGBT colors also, repainted as part of it, and the landlord said the facility was supposed to be used as a residential one. Okay. They were using it for commercial or office purposes, and he was unhappy about it, and therefore he says he wants to take over the facility and pay back the rent to this tenant, one person who came to rent from him.
All right, we'll leave it here for now. Editor Fred Smith, they're sharing details with us. What we are learning is that some heavily armed men have raided a facility or a home on the request of the landlord, who says that the facility was being used for other purposes for which it was rented. Coming up in business shortly here on JoyNews today, Ghana ranks 7th amongst 8 countries with paved roads. That's according to a World Bank survey. We've got details in a moment.
Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Among 8 selected top sub-Saharan countries, Ghana was ranked 2nd in extent of electrification, but 7th in existence of paved roads. Charles Nixon Yeboah has been looking through the World Bank rankings and tells us more.
So the data from World Bank indicates that Ghana is actually ranked 2nd as far as electrification rate is concerned. Among 8 sub-Saharan African nations, the nation trails South Africa. But if you look at the electrification rate of 84%, it means the nation is doing very well. In terms of urban electrification rate, the nation is actually ranked first, 95% as far as the figure is concerned. But the most worrying aspect has to do with power outages, and that is what the World Bank ranked the nation worst as far as the 8 sub-Saharan African nations are concerned. This tells us that policymakers must do more in terms of keeping the lights on. Doomsor is really a major concern as far as the data from the World Bank cited by Joy Business stipulate. On the other hand, paved road construction is also a major issue for the nation. We are ranked 7th among these 8 nations. The 8 nations include South Africa, Nigeria, Uganda, Ethiopia. But if you look at these nations, Ghana should have done better. Perhaps South Africa and Nigeria would have been better than us because they are actually the first 2 biggest nations as far as gross domestic product or the economic size of nations in Africa is concerned. So paved road construction, Ghana is not doing well at all. So policymakers will have to re-strategize. They have to reposition their strategies going forward to ensure that we have a lot of paved road and also improve road from the hinterland to the urban centers. This would facilitate foodstuffs from the hinterlands to the market and also help reduce prices and subsequently trigger in lower inflation.
Well, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry in partnership with Joy Business is holding a sensitization seminar for businesses on how they can benefit from the Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which kick-started this year. We want to take you there now for a bit of what is happening over there. Take a listen.
As our first take to point our products to. Fats and oils, this includes the shea oil, the soya oil, the, margarines and so on. Africa is importing as much as almost $8.something billion US. So definitely there is an opportunity for us to take some chunk of it. Then we have footwear, which is an interesting one. I'll talk some more about it later on. About $3 billion US is being imported into Africa. Paper products, cocoa products, iron and steel are all some of the examples. Now, in the case of cocoa products, we realize that because most of what Ghana exports is in a raw form, what Africa is importing is mostly the processed form of cocoa. That doesn't mean that many other African countries also have the raw cocoa as well. And so, just as many other food products in a raw form, we would hardly sell what we produce unprocessed to other African countries. So our best trump card is to add value. So if we are looking at what Africa is getting inside it from outside of it, it is mostly the processed cocoa products and not the raw cocoa products. Next slide, please. Okay, so we have all put together quite a long list, over 200 products that are possible. We have just a small selection you can see on your screen. But this is all to tell you that there are possibilities to send a huge menu of products out into the African market. And like I said earlier on, everything on almost anything that is imported into Ghana already, you can imagine same is imported also into Africa. So there isn't a lack of products to deal with. And I believe everybody who wants to go into the export business would find something that can end up into the African market. Next slide, please. All right, so as has been explained earlier on, we have the African market already made up of various trading communities. And it's been realized that familiarity generally is what dwells. So we have the various communities mostly trading amongst themselves. By these communities, we mean the regional economic communities. Some have been mentioned this morning. Ghana, we are in West Africa, so we have ECOWAS within Africa, we have COMESA within the Southern and Eastern Africa, and so on. So the trading takes place mostly within these communities. It means that where we are in Africa should be probably where we start from. So for Ghana, we start from by increasing our exports into ECOWAS. And as has been explained, as to the rules and regulations that will cover what we have, Ghana within ECOWAS falls into that category where majority of the countries in ECOWAS are least developed countries. And so therefore we take into consideration that we'll be going along with those general rules covering that. It means there's a longer period to apply the reduction in tariffs. So even though we are able to export all those multiple products into the ECOWAS region, we have to remember it will take a longer time.
And you saw the stats there, what we export, what we import. And right now, as we know it, participation by Ghanaian companies has been low. And that's why the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry is holding this seminar. We'll bring you more on that in subsequent bulletins. Up next, sports. Please stay tuned.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the sports segment with me, Oreko Ampofo. The Ghana Football Association has banned referee Daniel Oten for what they describe as deliberate denial of opposition, a penalty in a game involving Sekondi Hazakis and Nzema Kotoko. My colleague Haruna Mubarak has the rest of the story.
The match review panel took the decision to ban Oten for the rest of the season for failing to award a penalty they deemed deliberate. Nzema Kotoko claimed that the referee ignored infringements on their players in the 25th, 56th and 70th minutes of the match. They also claimed their officials and fans of Nzema Kotoko were heckled by the home team. After watching the video, the committee found that the incidents in the 25th and 70th minutes were not clear fouls that should warrant a call from referee Daniel Oten Appiah. However, in the 56th minute, the committee found that the goalkeeper Anthony Brebo clearly fouled the Nzema Kotoko attacker Akese in the penalty area and should have attracted a direct free kick and a yellow card caution. Hence, a clear penalty was ignored. This happened because the referee was too far from the penalty area. Hence, they have directed that he will not officiate any match for the rest of the season. The move of the panel was to win the confidence of football enthusiasts in the refereeing sector, an area that was deemed as a major nemesis of local football in the number 12 documentary. Daniel Oten becomes the fourth official to be banned by the GFA this season. The association earlier banned Isaac Basso for poor output in the game involving Wasserman and Star Madrid. Wasserman FC complained about referee Isaac Basso and assistant referee 1 Zachari's decision to disallow a goal they scored, which resulted in abrupt end of the match. Per the video watched, the committee found that the decision of the referee was wrong and Wasserman should have been credited with a goal. The committee also found that the performance of the referee of his assistant 1 contributed a great deal of negativity in the game, which finally resulted in the abrupt end of the game. Consequently, the match review panel therefore takes the following decisions. Isaac Basso, an assistant referee, are hereby banned from officiating for the rest of the season.
Thank you for staying here on JoyNews today. Now let's take you live to Parliament, where Lands and Natural Resources Minister Designate Samuel Abujinapo is being vetted by Parliament's Appointments Committee.
Obviously, the Honourable Member is right. That is a major issue. And that is going to be a big assignment that if I get approval of this House, I will have to make sure that we deal with. Mr. Chairman, I know that in the past administration, a lot of work was done. For instance, under the Ghana Forest Plantation Scheme 2016-2040, the government of Ghana planted 101.9 million trees. About 70 hectares of area was planted, about 16,180 hectares was done. A whole lot was done under the first term. But I believe that we've gotten to the point where if this committee were to recommend me and I'm approved by the House, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to roll out an aggressive afforestation scheme. An afforestation scheme which will not look at tinkling, which will not look at small interventions, but which will ensure that we aggressively roll out a program of afforestation. Mr. Chairman, it has been reported that Ethiopia, for instance, in a day, Ethiopia is supposed to have planted 350 million trees, led by the president of Ethiopia, and 19 million Ethiopians were involved. I think in our country, Ghana, I'm looking forward to having the opportunity, and if I got the opportunity, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources should be able to come up with a program where once in a year, and preferably on June 5th, which is the World Environment Day, the President of our Republic will lead a planting exercise. The President will plant a tree. Hopefully His Majesty Asantehene Otumfuo will plant a tree. Hopefully His Majesty the Yana will plant a tree. And Mr. Chairman himself will also plant a tree here in Parliament. And about, say, 5 million Ghanaians will plant trees. But not just the planting of the trees, Mr. Chairman. The planting of the trees is one thing, but seeing to the growth of the trees to maturity is another. And so the program must contemplate the situation where we are going to ensure that we plant and we see to the growth of the trees. And finally, I should say that we should not just plant trees, we should plant economic trees. So we are here discussing share nuts, we are here discussing share trees, rosewood, and the rest. So the trees we are planting should be economic trees, share trees, timber, wawa, and so on and so forth. And therefore, it becomes an investment. So my thinking about the afforestation program of this country. Okay, it's 2 o'clock, 2 hours. Suspend sitting for 10 minutes.
And that was Samuel Abujinapo answering questions before Parliament's Appointments Committee. Yesterday, we were told by Chairman of the committee that the Speaker of Parliament had given an order for a 10-minute break after every 2 hours, and that's why he called for the break just after Mr. Jinapo answered that question. Do stay with us here on JoyNews. I am Bernice Abubeidulansa. Thanks so much for your company. There's more news when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Coming up next is the Marketplace. Do stay.